when you said that the compensation board determines whether there's been harm, where does that money come from if they compensate the patient?
That is from the government.
So it is government.
It's funded, but it's not run by the government. These
So
people are not, well, as far as I know, and I haven't done full investigation into that.
So it'd be taxpayers' money?
Yeah, yeah.
came
Healthcare
into-
in New Zealand is generally a single payer. So
Okay.
yes, it is tax money.
And then I wondered whether you thought a system like that could work like on a state-by-state basis, or would it have to be, like if we tried it in this country, would it have to be a federal program, or could you do it on a smaller basis?
Well, you probably can answer that better than I. I think state, you could do it by the state. Because the accidents or whatever the problem is happens without people usually knowing it's going to. Unless they knew it was going to happen and could move to where they thought they'd get a better deal.
Right, but that's what's happening in West Virginia. People take their medical suits to West Virginia because they, I think it's West Virginia,
okay, but,
where you get a better settlement.
Well, that's right. But maybe there's some way of regulating, you know, a standard. This is what you get for a certain problem. It's possible.
Okay, I have a lot of thoughts going around in my head.
So do we.
I'm trying
Maybe we'll
to
finally get rolling.
relate on many different levels. Government involvement, insurance, free market, and particularly the concept of subsidiarity. It seems to me that whenever government gets involved in something like this, it creates more problems than it solves. So that is a red flag to me right there. And one thing that it seems to me happens is that we are insulated from our choices, from the consequences of our choices.
By our insurance, you mean?
By government provision. I mean, you know, witness the war on poverty, which has served to, I think, produce more poverty. By insulating people from their choices. Breakdown in families, you know. Anyway, that's one piece of it. Another piece is insurance. Insurance has to be free market. Insurance is a business. Otherwise, it can't operate.
Actually, it does. There's a number of countries, Switzerland is the most recent one, to switch to universal access and therefore universal taking on of insurance, and they have, let's see, they have insurance companies, but, and here's the key, they're not allowed to make a profit, but their employees get paid more. They kind of have a, see how many people you can get to join your insurance company, and that would make your pay go up. So the government has removed the for-profit for the basic health care. Now, they can make profit on anything that's above that package. So this is a sort of a dual. They can't make profit on the one that everybody gets unless they pay extra or better coverage, and then they can make a profit. So it's possible to do different things with it. And I agree that without making a profit, our insurance companies, they wouldn't know what to do. But these other countries, Switzerland, Germany, Japan, the government has mandated universal coverage and therefore has mandated that everybody get insurance either through their employer or through one of the private enterprises, or if they can't afford that, they have a community as opposed to a government provision. But in these others, they have taken the profit out of the insurance companies and they still work. I don't know how exactly that goes.
Yeah, I'd like to be able to see more
But it does
details on
function.
that. It seems like to me a free market economy is what is going to bring people's consequences of their choices to bear on their decisions. That is the thing that is going to produce better choices, is when you feel those consequences. And it's also going to have a cost-reducing mechanism built into it.
How does it do that? I mean, how are you saying that will bring down the cost?
because when I'm talking to my doctor and I have a headache, and I'm deciding whether I am going to pay for an MRI or whether I'm going to trust his advice that I don't think this is anything to worry about.
He didn't go to medical school for any
No.
reason.
Right.
Yeah.
But just at a very basic level, I think that would be the mechanism. Now, that's not to say that it would solve all the health care problems. I'm just saying if we want to start by reducing people not being able to afford health care, it seems like to me that's kind of the best economic idea.
Can I understand, are you saying get rid of insurance and then you feel the consequences of all your choices? Or
No, I'm just
No?
saying as a basic philosophy, I think the free market system is what allows us to feel the consequences of our choices and motivates more people to make more good choices.
Yeah.
You can go in and you're covered for anything. You
Right,
just
whenever
use
we're
it
insulated
and you
from-
don't feel it at all.
Right.
Here's a good example. When I had my 40-year physical exam, and I'm sitting in my physician's office buttoning up my shirt, and he's looking at my EKG. Now, first of all, for a routine physical exam at 40 years old, there's no guidelines that provide for doing an EKG at 40 years of age, but he did one anyway. So he's looking at my EKG, and he looks at me, and he's looking at the EKG, and he looks at me. He says, "You feel okay?" I says, "Yeah, I feel fine." He says, "Well, look at this. Your T waves are inverted." And being a physician, I understood. He said, "If you were in the emergency room, I'd say you're having a heart attack right now." I said, "Well, I feel fine. No, I'm fine." He said, "Well, the only other place I see this is in the distance runners up here at the university." I says, "Well, I'm a runner." "Well, I think we ought to check this out. I want you to see the cardiologist." Okay. Well, so I made the appointment for the cardiologist, went to the cardiologist. So he wants to run these echo tests and these blood flow tests and all these. And I'm sitting there, again, buttoning up my shirt, and I say, "Listen, we have an explanation for why my T waves are inverted. I feel fine. I feel healthy. I don't need those." Now, see, I could apply my clinical acumen in order to debate this cardiologist about what I needed. He's applying his clinical acumen and his defensive medicine in order to make sure I get everything I need. I didn't need that. I don't think that, and I'm not trying to say that people don't understand their health, but a lot of people don't really understand the healthcare system and the technology, and to try to assume that people are going to make wise decisions about that. I think the insurance, the fact that just give it all to me, it's going to be difficult for people to make those choices wisely. And not that doctors are all benevolent and all-knowing, okay? But that's just an example of what you could get into with this technology.
I think I'm just trying to lay some first principles that there is a function of the market that we don't want to insulate from too much. And then another thing is just the idea of subsidiarity in other words, I am ready to agree that free market is not going to mean everybody gets good health care. There are going to be people who have needs that they can't supply themselves, and that's, granted, and I feel the obligation to do something about that. I'm just trying to reduce how many people get to that point. Once at that point, then I think the idea of subsidiarity becomes very important, because at the lowest level you can deal with it, you're dealing with people knowing people. You don't have to have an army of social workers who cannot get to all their clients to find out who's behaving responsibly. You've got somebody in the family who knows that person, or somebody in the church who knows that person, or somebody in that community who knows that person. So in other words, I'm trying to make sense of how do you put all those together, to be an efficient and compassionate system.
Yeah. There's a couple questions up here.